Back at it again Tuesday. Oh my goodness. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and today is it's a special video. We're going to talk about the Mavs-Clippers game from yesterday. A game that I actually had on for a little bit. I had it up just watching the first half. I was interested to see how the Mavs were going to respond after an 0-2 start. The Clippers started off 2-0, looked really good. Kawhi wasn't playing, but still Luka, Paul George was like, okay, it's the only game going on during the day. The football wasn't that great. I was like, let's watch some NBA stuff. And let's just say it didn't go great for the Clippers. And of course, it happened to the Clippers. Like, of all the teams in the league, for this to happen to lose a game by 51 points, the draft picks for that to happen to, just in terms of like a pure comedy standpoint, would be the Clippers and the Knicks at the top of that list, because people just love to make fun of those two teams. And that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So I've broken it down into a handful of stats here for your enjoyment. So the Clippers scored 73 points yesterday, which is obviously quite a low number, not just in general, but especially in the modern NBA. Teams typically don't score under 80 points in a game. And the Mavericks actually attempted more field goals yesterday. They had more shots from the floor yesterday, 87, than the Clippers scored total points, which was 73. That is how you know you did not have a very good offensive day, when the other team just gets up more shots at the basket than points that you scored on that particular day. There have also been 6 different individual scoring performances in NBA history that equal or are greater than that 73-point number that the Clippers got to yesterday. Now, granted, some of those were back in the day. Wilt has like 4 of those, but there are some modern performances as well that players scored at least 73 or more points in a single game by themselves, and the Clippers only managed 73 yesterday. And this is also the biggest loss in LA Clippers history by point margins. 51 points, 124-73. The other biggest losses in franchise history include a 50-point loss to Seattle in the 88-89 season, a 49-point loss to Seattle in the 93-94 season. Apparently, Seattle was a tough stretch there for this team through that little time span. Portland, they lost to them by 48 in the 94-95 season, and they lost by 46 to Golden State in the 2016-17 season. However, also the franchise as a whole is kind of just a pretty big L, so maybe that should be at the top of the list. The biggest L's in franchise history, the franchise itself, and then all these other numbers. I don't know, just a thought. At their scoring pace for this game, if the Clippers had continued to score at the same pace that they had been scoring the entire game, if they had continued that pace, they would have had to play another 33 and a half minutes of basketball and hold the Dallas Mavericks without scoring for that entire 33 and a half minute stretch just to tie the game. So they scored 73 points through 4 quarters. If they had scored at that pace, they would have had to play 33 and a half more minutes of basketball without the Mavs scoring just to tie the game. That's how bad they were yesterday. Also, don't have to really, dig into this one too much. The Mavericks could have stopped scoring at halftime and still won the game. No, I'm not joking. The Mavs scored 77 points at halftime. The Clippers scored 73 points for the entire game. And even if Josh Richardson and Luka Doncic both went scoreless, they're 2 leading scorers in the game. If both of those guys went scoreless, they missed every single shot that they took, the Mavs still would have scored enough points to win. Also, you could take away every single 3-point shot that the Dallas Mavericks made, and they still would have won the game, which is kind of ridiculous considering how much teams rely on threes. And the Mavs didn't really shoot that well from 3 yesterday from a percentage standpoint anyway. And if you took away every single 3 that they made yesterday, they still would have beaten the LA Clippers. You also could just add up the points scored by Luka, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Richardson, and Jalen Brunson. You add up those 4 guys, those are their top 4 leading scorers, and they would have outscored the LA Clippers by themselves. Just those 4 guys. Now, to be fair, as we get away from the numbers here a little bit, the Clippers didn't have Kawhi. And as Paul George was quick to point out after the game, it was Christmas the day before. Maybe there was, they were a little sluggish the day after Christmas Day. And Paul George only had, 15 points, didn't have a great game, and they didn't have Kawhi Leonard. That's fair, but you have to put up a better performance than this. 124-73 for a team, by the way, that people were actually kind of starting to believe in a bit because they looked pretty solid through the first couple of games. And people were thinking, maybe the Clippers could actually be a reformed team this year. They've got, Serge Ibaka in there, the 5 instead of Montrezl Harrell. They look better defensively. Kawhi and Paul George were good. Luke Kennard has been a nice little addition for them as well. And maybe they'll be able to put it together this year. And I'm not saying that this would not be the case, right? Just based off of the third game of the season, which they lost by 51. But I don't care what the day was the day before. You got to show up and you got to play better than this. There's no way you can be losing by 51 to a team, by the way, in Dallas that did not look very good the first couple of games. And granted, it's only 2 games, whatever. But you just got to be better than that. And after the game, Lucas said, he's like, this is who we really are. This is the team that we've built here in Dallas, and defense is going to be our calling card from here on out after we slow down the Clippers to 73 points. And I just found that funny because if this is who you are, Luka, then go ahead and start raising the banner, because you guys just absolutely pummeled the Clippers yesterday. And yeah, they got to be better. And honestly, I thought about breaking out, the glasses and the Hawaiian shirt. They're sitting right here on my desk. I thought about breaking them out for this, but ultimately I decided that it just would have been a little bit better, a little bit more fun if we just went through all the different random numbers from this game that somehow are true because of just how bad the Clippers were. Now, I mean, moving forward, is this going to have any kind of bearing on how the Clippers season goes or what they accomplish this season or yada, yada, yada? No, probably not. Unless they somehow go on this huge slump over the next couple of weeks because of this huge loss, or Kawhi doesn't play because of whatever injury he's going through. And then they end up losing some seeding, and then they, lose because they don't have, ideally we'd have home court by the time the playoffs roll around. I mean, maybe that could be the case. But at the end of the day, this is just a funny moment. This is going to be one of those where, like, how they do the montage at the end of the year, or they'll do, like, list most memorable moments in the NBA season. Unfortunately for Clippers fans, this one's probably going to make it onto those lists. 124-73. I can't imagine. I was trying to think of, like, the worst blowouts that I'd seen. And, like, none of them came up as NBA ones. Some of them were NFL, but a lot of them were, like, college games where, the big-time Division I school plays, like, the NAIA school, and they double them up, right? Like, they win, like, 130-45 or something. They just, like, double up their points. And, I know that there was a really bad... I think the Mavs were involved in this as well. It was Mavs Hornets or something like that, where there was a really big blowout in the past in the NBA. But this one, like, I had it pulled up, and I was like, oh, the Mavs were up 15-3 or whatever, or 20-5. I was like, wow, I mean, the Mavs playing really well. And it just kept going up. And I was doing some other stuff, but I kept looking at the game, glancing over at it, and just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was kind of rooting for history. Like, I was kind of rooting for them to win by, like, 70, just so it was, that much worse and just, like, completely untouchable as a record. That was a rough one. That was a rough one there for the Clippers. Hopefully they turn it around. But, hey, makes for good content, right? But yeah, that's going to be the end of the first video today. Having just a little bit of fun. We'll have a second video out later today as well. Obviously, this is a great place for consistent NBA content. If you want to subscribe, it'll be content just like this, similar to this. Lots of salary cap stuff, lots of NBA trade stuff, NBA news, all that kind of stuff, all throughout the NBA season, uploading twice a day, every day. So if you want to subscribe and you enjoy this type of content, that would be really helpful. It'd be a great thing to do. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well. Helps me out a ton, lets me know that you're enjoying the content, and helps it get out to more people on YouTube as well. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks for checking out the video. If you missed any of my previous videos, you can check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I will see you all next time.